Mother wound. I'm going to explain my mother wound, and you guys tell me if that wouldn't mess up a kid somehow. Because I talk about this a lot, just about protecting children's like emotional safety and how that, what happens in childhood affects you all the way into your adult years. And me, I speak from I'm an addict alcoholic. Like, a lot of my deeply rooted issues came from childhood because I didn't know how to cope with certain stuff because of childhood trauma and things like that. And so my mother wound was a great loss to me. In recovery, you grieve so many things. Like, the first thing you get into recovery and you quit a substance, you're grieving the loss of the substance. You're grieving that your whole life has to change. In anytime you're trying to change something, there's a loss of something because you're stopping something. So then there's that void. So grieving in recovery there's lots of grieving in recovery. And when I went from AA and I'm more involved with Codependence Anonymous now, like I still go to AA sometimes, but I'm more into the CODA stuff. And I really did a lot. This really helped me with a lot of my traumas from way back when and helped me understand why I do the things I do, why my relationships were failing, why especially my relationships were failing in intimate spaces. And I went back, and one of my biggest things is my mother wound. And I've always been scared to talk about it because I don't want to hurt my mother and my parents. And thou shalt honor our parents. Like, I feel like I'm guilty or bad for saying stuff. But, my story from when I was young is something worth mentioning to maybe help protect the children of our future. Like, emotional safety is becoming something that people talk about. You need that in healthy relationships. And when you don't have that as a child, and you don't have emotional safety in yourself, you're not going to be around people that treat you, that are emotionally safe. You won't even know who's trustworthy or not. You might be drawn more to the chaos. So this is to get away from that. So this is my mother wound. Like, my mother wound is, first, I had a really rough mother. She didn't talk to us very nicely, very mean communication, lots of screaming, around and then not around. And, for some reason, it bothered me that she never dressed up. She didn't put herself together. Like, she was often in her PJs. Like, we're talking like depression here. Like, we're talking just, I feel like your mother is your main source of emotional support. And when you don't have the mother, when you don't have a healthy, safe, happy mother, it's hard on kids. Like, it was hard on me. And I thought it was because I didn't deserve it. I had to make up something in my mind because I couldn't understand something. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And so because of that, that's where that low self-esteem and the self-love started to dwindle a little. And that mother wound, like, she never got along with anyone at our school. She didn't get along with too many people. Like, it was like constant embarrassment and humiliation. Like, she'd yell at the servers in the restaurants. Like, it was just nastiness to everywhere, to people everywhere we went, and even to my father. And we were just stuck there with her while she treated everybody like that. And there was just nothing anyone could do. Nobody ever stopped her. And my father never explained anything. And it was just really confusing as a child. And then there was like a bit of favoritism in the home. So it was just like, from a young age, it was like I felt like, well, why am I on the outside? It was never my turn. And so it's like, there's something to grieve there and do some work on for myself. But this mother wound, like, not being able to have someone that you can, like, and okay, I have to rewind. so the extremes that I dealt with my mother was, extreme rage, extreme depression, and then extreme happiness, and then extreme affection, where I think because she felt so guilty for being absent or gone or emotional, extreme emotion, I think because she felt guilty about that, she, in the moments that she was around, she was too much. And then it was untrusting, because it was like, well, just because you give me hugs doesn't make it okay the way you just treated me. Because it wasn't a hug that was going to make me feel better. It was someone maybe changing their behavior or stopping or admitting or saying sorry or not letting it happen again. So that was how I learned about relationships, and I chose partners like that. And I thought that was just okay. I thought it's okay to have relationships like that with people. And so now, now I go for healthy relationships, but that was my foundation, was that relationship I had with my parents. And my mother wound was just like grieving the loss of just not being able to do like mother-daughter dates or like mother-daughter things, or she'd coach us sometimes, but she was like the meanest to me, or would ignore me, or like, I don't know what it was, but I felt like an orphan child sometimes, or that she didn't want me there. And then the other thing is that like I would see other girls with their mothers, and their mom would dress them up, and then they would dress up, and they seemed like they had this nice relationship. And then I was like in this relationship where I was, when I never talked with my mother, and we never had any closeness. Like there was no closeness. And even with my father, there wasn't any closeness. Like he was around, but there was just no meat. There was no intimacy. There was no stability. There was no trust and consistency. It was just do the things you need to do and then get out of the way. Like, so as a child, it was damaging, and it that's my mother wound. Like, I think that it was so unpredictable that I didn't know what was coming, that it just put me on eggshells and hypervigilance. And then she was an extremely emotional person, but then nobody knew anything about emotions in the home. So it was like I never learned what my emotions were, because I was always focused on my mother's emotions. And it was all about, how I became really codependent and focusing on other people was just that it was like nobody was okay until she was okay. So then I became really codependent in a way where I would be really good at like taking care of the whole party, the whole house, making sure everybody was good. And then I'd take care of myself last. And that was one of my codependence traits, was because she was the focus, and there was no maybe attention to figure out what was going on with me, or I didn't learn that. Then I grew up thinking, you know what? You just take care of everybody else. That's what you do. You just take care of everybody else first, and then you can have a little bit of time for you. Then, sometimes that time never comes. So you just kind of live very depleted in your life. And that's one thing, like, it's so deeply rooted. Like, and, today I do have a really good relationship with my mother. It's better. And she's done some work in growing too. But I think just not having an understanding, and maybe just somebody, maybe a buffer person there, or maybe if she had some better like ways to deal with her stuff so it didn't affect the kids so much, then it might have been different. Like, I think it's possible to have a family and manage with mental illness. I think that's possible, but there's got to be like those healthy tools, awareness. There has to be some kind of family action plan and awareness, and teach your kids like what's happening, and involve them, and check with like teaching children emotions and feelings and stuff like that. Like, not just one person can have all of the attention, the feelings, and the like, just focus on them, because everybody else does matter in the family. Like, everyone should matter in the family. It should be equality everywhere. So that's my deep mother wound. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.